What's up, everybody? Welcome to our Bhunivelze boss guide for Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. I'm Ryan Telgenik.
And I'm Zack Betka.
All right, Zach, you watched me fight this guy.
I did.
You know, how funny is it? I mean, well, not funny, but unsurprising that the last boss of the game is God.
And how unsurprising is that he has tons of forms, and they're all very frustrating, and the last form
They're all
was
super obnoxious.
Just
especially the last.
Yeah.
But, all right, so how do you beat this guy? A few things you're going to want to do to prepare.
Okay.
First, get Ultima Weapon and Ultima Shield. They're pretty simple to get, and you'll get them right before... Like, once you get into the room that the final boss is in,
yeah,
there's these 4 trials, and the game tells you, like, I bet you'll get something really powerful if you complete these 4 trials.
Which is so weird.
And they're actually not that hard, because inside are just pretty much basic enemies that have been a little bit powered up.
Okay.
And so they're pretty straightforward fights. You're gonna be familiar with most of the monster types because you fought them many times before.
Yeah. Is it impossible without the Ultima weapons?
No, it's not impossible by any means. I just think that'll give you a much needed power boost that'll really help speed this up.
Okay.
So anyways, grab those. I equipped them on my schemata that I use for physical attacks.
Okay.
Because that's where I found them to be the most useful. So, very first form of Bhunivelze, which is how you pronounce that because they say it over and over again. He's kind of a mix of magic and physical damage. Okay. As I've done with most of the boss fights in this game, I would recommend that if you have a schemata that you use for debuffing, equip the Ghost Hood on that one in particular. The Ghost Hood is the item you get from beating snow. Okay. And it reduces physical attacks by 75%, but then also your strength and magic damage by 100%. Which is fine because you're just using it on an outfit that you use to cast Dish Shell and do Deprotect and I think I'm trying to remember what else I used. Imperil. That's another helpful thing.
Defaith?
No.
Okay.
Didn't use it. Anyways, his very first form, pretty susceptible to magic and physical damage. And yeah, as you see, he casts Doom on you at the start, so you have to finish his first form off before that runs out. Okay. Would you like to guess, Zach, what happens if you do not finish him off before that timer runs out?
Perhaps instant death.
It seems extremely likely.
It's a theme.
Yeah. But yeah, so luckily his first form isn't that hard. He's got, you're pretty much protected against all the physical stuff as long as you switch to the correct schemata before he does physical damage.
Any elemental weaknesses?
He's actually pretty weak to all of the elements here, so it doesn't matter which ones you're using. I would actually recommend going with Arrow or maybe Thundara because those hit him faster than fire or ice spells do. They travel much slower, and so you're gonna have a better chance of knocking him out with the quicker magic attacks.
That makes sense. Okay.
But yeah, so this is pretty much all you see for the first stage. Try and hold on to your overclock as long as you can. Don't waste it on the first stage. He's pretty simple here. Okay. Just keep beating the hell out of him, and then eventually he'll go down. Cool. So we're gonna fast forward to the. Well, actually, he's about dead here. The very first phase of him.
Oh, Jesus. And this is when you know you're just like, there's more.
Oh yeah, if the final boss is going down this quick, you're like, okay, basic enemies are harder to kill than you are. Yeah. And now he goes, yeah, you won't defeat me, I'm God, I'll sprout wings, and now here's form 2. So the second form he does, this was actually the hardest for me if you're using Ghost Hood. So there's an equivalent to the Ghost Hood, and I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it reduces magic attacks by the same amount. That would be useful here, but I didn't want to completely make 2 of my, forms do no damage. Yeah. So this is a tough one to do if you took my advice and went with Ghost Hood, just because he does all magic damage. Okay. And you just really have to be smart about perfect guarding because that's pretty much the only way you're going to survive. And
it looks like he's weak to all elements again?
Yeah, again, he's pretty weak to everything. Okay. Item-wise, I stocked up on pretty much all X potions. I had maybe a Mega Remedy and I think 2 Phoenix Downs. Okay. Worked out for me. Again, if you are really having trouble with this form and because you're wearing the Ghost Head and not the magic reduction one, feel free to use an overclock like I did just here because you really want to get through this guy because he's going to just drain you of your items if you take too long to finish him off. Okay. I would say if you can, I dropped down to about 5 EP here. Like, definitely have at least that much going into the 4th form. Okay. Because that is a real son of a bitch. the fourth form specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't be afraid to use like maybe one overclock here if you need to just quickly try and cut him down.
Okay. God, that's such a pretty move.
Oh yeah, this game is absolutely
Jesus.
gorgeous.
Yeah. Now the little balls that are circling around, do they do anything?
Not that I knew.
Okay, so you don't have to. You don't have
They
to hit
probably
them,
do. I just wasn't really
Paying attention.
paying super.
Okay, but you
attention.
can't target them and take them out.
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
No. But yeah, he's got a lot of really annoying attacks here.
This one.
So when he does this, he's actually kind of immune to your damage. You see, I'm doing like no damage to him, and I don't. And maybe you can knock him out of this, but you kind of just have to let this happen, and just hold off and wait. Maybe you use this opportunity to let your ATB or your gauges fill back up, because he's really immune to a lot of the damage right here, and it's not much you can do about him.
Okay.
And you can't even. I don't think you can dispel his buff that he's got there either. So just wait for him to finish attacking.
Okay. And he's charging up for a.
Yeah, he does
massive move.
and you're gonna see it in a second here. He does some super obnoxious heavy attack. Now, I would not recommend. So in my setup, I went into this with, ouch, yeah, that hurts a lot. Got to heal back up through it.
Wow.
So in my setup, I took, I have my main magic damage schemata, but then I also put Eroga on my physical attack damage one, only because I knew I wanted to. His final form is really tough, and we'll talk about that when it happens. But
Yeah.
I took it in hopes that I would be able to knock him out with magic damage.
Okay.
I would actually not use Eroga because it requires way too much of your gauge, and it just isn't enough. You want consistency over just brute power.
Okay. So
maybe go with a lower level like, Aurora or something similar.
Okay.
Now this is third form. Of course, in, as we mentioned, Jesus Christ, there are so many forms. This is third one. Now, this one, if you went Ghost Hood, is by far the easiest.
Awesome.
Because this focuses purely on dealing physical damage. And so just always swap out to the schemata that you have equipped to negate that, and you're going to be fine. Now, when he uses Alchemist, or whatever that was called right there, that you actually have to perfect guard. Because otherwise it'll just hit you.
Even with your Ghost Hood?
Yeah, because it does magic damage. Same with Holy Blade is a buff that he gives himself, but he also does like some other random attack here that does magic damage that you're gonna have to guard against. But you can see those right there. Or Divine Punishment is the one. But those guards were just from my Ghost Hood. Like that thing will save your ass time after time.
Okay.
And I really like using the Cyber Jumpsuit for that schemata because it also has an additional 15% protection against magic and physical. And I found that without that suit, a lot of the times I would just take small amounts of damage instead of entirely guarding against him when I switched to that thing. So, yeah, this form is entirely straightforward. So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit to his final form. Okay, guys, if you're still with us by now, you finally made it to Form 4 of Bhunivelze. This is an absolute pain because, as you'll quickly find, and I had to restart this entire boss fight. You watched me do
I remember
this
that.
because you can do basically just one damage to him, regardless of what you're hitting him with, whether that be a physical attack or a magic attack. He's immune to debuffs right now, or at least highly resistant, and there's just nothing you can do now. The reason I suggested earlier that you really hold on to your overclocks to this form is because that was actually the only way I was able to knock him out or beat him at all.
Okay.
Because once you first knock him out, then you can actually start debuffing him. Then he'll start taking a good amount of damage, and he's pretty easy after that. But the hard part is surviving long enough to actually make it there. Because Heartless Angel is an ability. Now, this you can perfect guard, thank God. Because if these two little angels will circle you, and then at the end of, I don't know, after like 10 seconds or so, they will hit you for all of your health except for one. You'll have 1 HP after that attack.
That's
unless
so obnoxious.
you perfect guard it. Now, it's really easy to perfect guard. When you see the screen angle change, because like they'll be circling you and it'll look just like this regular angle, but when the camera angle switches, that's when you want to hit your guard button.
Okay.
Just hold it.
Okay.
They're actually extremely easy to negate, so that's not too bad. Now he's also going to use a bunch of magic damage on you in addition to physical damage. This is basically like his first form all over again, but worse.
Okay. So when do you go into overclock to try to knock him out.
Now, you'll see in this video that I actually wait a really long time because I thought, you know, oh man, definitely be sure to heavy guard all that shit too. Now, what I thought was that because I had Aroga on my physical damage thing, that maybe if I kept using that and then also chaining Aurora or Thundara from my magic casting schemata, that potentially I would be able to knock him out.
Gotcha.
Turns out that never really worked. I think it would have worked had I perhaps not taken Aroga because, as I mentioned, it just takes way too much of your gauge to use.
Yeah.
You can use it like 3 or 4 times and be completely drained, and you'll see on all the bosses or any enemies that you're fighting, when you're hitting with these attacks, you'll see these little yellow lines jumping up and down right by his health bar. That's kind of like gives you a visual indicator of how well you're doing, like pushing him toward a knockout. You want that to be red, not yellow. And I never got it past yellow.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I would say we're probably going to skip ahead a little bit here, just because the next 10 minutes or so are just me failing at knocking him out.
Okay.
And so it did work when I finally overclocked. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Okay, guys, so now that you've seen me failing entirely to knock him out for, I don't know, 18 minutes straight or some shit, I finally got it in my head, hey, maybe I should just overclock this asshole because nothing is working.
Yeah.
And guess what? You should probably just do that straight from the start because it works significantly better. In fact, I had to use 2 overclocks to even stagger him at all. Be sure to do that. Use your first overclock, completely drain your gauge. Then, once that's done, drain your entirely refreshed ATB gauge of your magic spells. Then initiate your second overclock, repeat the process, use Army of 1 at the end. If you can. If you have at least 5 EP, oh, there I am wearing the mask of my dead sister. What a ridiculous garb. But if you can at least have 5 EP by this fight, you should be able to stagger him just fine. It's super obnoxious. Use your 2 guards, then Army of 1 will do a lot of good damage on him. And let's see, how did I even end up knocking him out? I don't really recall, because now it just looks like I'm doing nothing to him again. Let's see here. Okay, so I think after I finally hit some damage on him, perhaps it was just enough to push him toward a little bit toward the knockout. Let's see. Oh god, what a nightmare this fight was. Seriously, just look how little damage he's taking.
Yeah. Jesus.
Okay, so yeah, you really just got to put that initial damage on him, and then keep hacking away. And then once he's staggered, boom, look how quick his health drops. He is completely easy at that point. So the entire trick, just survive to get him to the stagger.
Obnoxious.
If you try this form a couple times, you'll really quickly get the hang of perfect guarding his attacks. Like, it's not that bad. And also, once you do knock him out for the first time, you can finally debuff him. So do that right away. And look at how much damage I'm putting on this guy, like 50,000 a hit. And you just that's really all there is. And, you know, after you kill him, finally, hey, congratulations. You finished the last boss of Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. Bhunivelze. You should also do this wearing the dead mask of your sister, because it's infinitely funnier that way.
The irony's delicious.
But that's all for our boss guide of Bhunivelze. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and of course at GamesRadar.com, and we'll see you there.